Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Farah. Let's start our today's session, which is more on the patent drafting itself. And we try to take some actual cases and discuss some of your ideas. Just to see the previous day, we learned the patent registration procedure, which is the technical procedure, the forms to fill up and the timeline and so on. Then we went through the patent system in Malaysia, which is also regarding the patent law, the Patent Act, when to submit, when is to grant, and the durations, and when to be considered lapse, withdrawn, and so on. Then we discussed a very important topic, which is the patentability, to check if your patent is unpatentable or patentable, but is it better to go to patent or utility innovation? The most critical step was the inventive step. Then we went briefly to patent search, and we just highlight the new thing that what CBC to incorporate it in your search. Other than that, actually, it's quite. If you want to take it, it's a bit longer than that, but I guess majority know already because we do the literature search in academic, so we will not spend much on that. You can know how to put the keywords and so on. That one is a standard search, but the new one is the use of CBC. Then today we will go for patent drafting format and procedure. Actually, we have only one slides. These slides to give. Other than that, we'll be spent more on the discussing some ideas, some showing the forms and formats and the templates and so on, examples. And we try afternoon if you have anything drafted or anything you want to discuss, we can take some examples and try to discuss them. Let's go through the. Previously, we went through this granting patent procedure, just to check where we are now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes, yes. Sorry. Okay. Yesterday, we showed this graph just to remind, because this is the most important flow chart of the procedure. We already named a few parts, and now we review them so that you know where we are now. The first part is to submit the file patent using Form 1 for patent, Form 14 for utility innovation, plus the specifications. So we have missed the specifications, which we will learn today. The specification is what we need to draft by ourselves. We call it patent specification or patent description. Okay? We need to learn this part today. Form 17, if any, if you are using patent agent, that 17, but if you are doing it yourself, no need. Form 22, usually we need, which is the justification for the right for filing the patent. Just simple statements justifying that you are an employee in this organization and so on. This is just a simple form. Then after that, it will go to the if it's everything full and the patent specification contain the main components, then you will get the filing date instantly, directly. It will go through a simple format. Preliminary examination, basically, and if it passed, usually it's not a problem more on the format and the completeness of the application. Then you will get the. I think after this, you will get the filing certificate. Also, certificate filing can be done before that. Then, if it's complete and no problem, then you will enter the pendency time, which is 18 months. Within this 18 months, you can decide either to continue. If you decided to continue, you need to submit before the 18 months and form 5, which is the request for substantive examination. If you want to withdraw the application, then submit a form to withdraw the application. Then the application will not be published on my website. So in the 18 months, the application will be published. If it's published, it becomes dangerous for you if you want to resubmit again or submit part of it, because it becomes a prior art for you. So if you decide not to continue with the application, submit a withdrawal request. Then after you submit within the 18 months, you submit the request for substantive examination. It will enter the examination step. And during the examination, it will take sometimes 2-3 years, depends on the queue in the MyIPO office. Then it can be either granted, which is very rare, without some communication, and you will get what we call the adverse report, examiner adverse report, then which state why the examiner found something like problem in your novelty or inventive step, ready to find a problem in industrial application. And most of the problems come from the inventive step. And you need to defend that one and communicate between you and the examiner. This communication always use the official official mailing. Then after that, it goes either to be refused or granted. If it's granted, you need to maintain the patent by paying yearly maintenance fees. If you fail to pay the yearly maintenance fees, then it will be lapsed. If it's lapsed, you have some time to decide to retain your patent with paying of some penalty. If you didn't pay, it will be definitely lapsed and no way to retain the patent again. So this is the meaning of lapse. If you want the patent to go for accelerated or expedited pathway after the 18 months, or within the 18 months, you already submit the request for substantive examination, which actually can be done even in the day of filing. You can submit that one. Most of if you already decide that I want to continue, can be done instantly also. Usually patent agents, they submit them together. But if you decide, you have some time to decide. Then after the 18 months, you submit application for expedited, a request to approve the expedited examination, 5H. Within 1 week, they will reply to you, okay, you are entitled for expedited. Then you can submit 5I, the request for expedited. Then within 4 weeks, they will complete the examination. So the expedited is only to accelerate the examination. They will put you in front. Then after that, of course, the same pathway. After the 18 months. Within the 18 months, you still need to submit the request for substantive examination, the normal. From the date of filing, because you can submit it in the date of filing, everything together, until the 18 months. Expedited after that. When you send to the patent agent, you pay one time the sum of money. That one includes the fees for filing and the fees for substantive examination as well, because the patent agents submit all together. You feel you know already that in I think in your office. Can, but I think the system is not that the universities, especially public universities, is not flexible. You pay one time during the filing, and then goes until the no payment, nothing until you receive the adverse report. If you want them to do something, they will request to pay during this 18 months another time. I think most universities are not flexible to, because it's easier for them to make one invoice in the beginning, pay one time everything. But basically, yeah, if you need that one, you need to ask them to, yeah. I mean, the system also need to allow such thing. Okay, so this is the timeline. So everything actually filling forms and waiting and knowing this timeline. What left here during the submission is the specification. So specification is the patent drafting itself. Okay, so here is the patent specification, the components of patent specification. The technical field, these are titles need to be your components in the file you want need to submit, which is basically a few pages, sometimes 10 pages, 5 pages, depends on how big is your patent. The technical field, the background art, which is basically the literature review in academia, disclosure of the invention, brief description of the drawings, best mode of carrying out the invention, industrial applicability, claims, abstract, and figures. I will show you one of the patents that submitted in MyIPO. This one from the after formatting everything from the patent agent. This patent is granted. So here is how it looks like. Title, field of the invention. These numbers are actually part of the format that is requested. We should show them later. Background of the invention. No, line numbering. 5.5, and you need to number 5.5, start every page. Start every page, which you can do it from line numbering. Layout, line numbering, you can set how to number it. You don't insert manually. So you see, first, field of the invention need to be arranged exactly like this. So this is the one that the format in Malaysia. Background of the invention, where you can state basically it's a like literature search in our articles, but more on the you discuss here the most relevant prior arts and how you are different from the prior arts. Summary of the invention. Brief summary here. 1 page, less than 1 page is enough. Brief description of the drawings. No need. But something like this, I prefer to put the title and mention no drawings. I'm not sure if it must be there or no, but for me, since it's already in the regulation, just put it and mention no drawing included. Where is it? Yes. Yeah. So reduce the communication, because each communication you need to think about a few weeks. Because the communication for manual submission is used, communication use the normal mail. Normal mail, or you need to go there and send the reports. They will mail you the report as well and so on. No, MyIPO will not email. But if it's online, I'm not sure how the communication. Online, I believe it will be in the system. Online. But the manual one, using the mail. Online submission, because I cannot access. It's I think open only for Malaysia. The online system. I have account, I can search everything, but I cannot do searching. And you need to get the digital ID, which take time. I think take few days. Like I think it's like the one that from the bank sometimes and so on. So you need to get it better. I think better the university make an account, then use it for every researcher want to submit to use that account. Then detailed description of the invention, where you put all the disclosure, all the details, you put them here. and really need to be in very details. Then you put the examples of the invention, how you carry out the invention in a real work. We call it, sometimes we call it example, or it's more common to use embodiment, especially if it's international application. Embodiment means the physical form of the invention. One example, if it's formulation, you can say formulation 1, formulation 2, but here just use example 1, example 2, or embodiment 1, embodiment 2, use them here. After that, the most important part is the claims, because here where actually they will be attacked in the claims, and what you are protected, or you seek protection is what you put in the claims. Everything that is not your protection. Your protection is the claim. So here are the claims. Then the abstract come at the end. Then you need to put the statement, which is the most illustrative figure to our drawing. Can you use figure or drawing? Then the figures can include also in the same file or in another file, since it's printed out, so no problem if it's 2 files. Yes, it's abstract 150 words, less than 150 words. Maximum. Sufficient. Just small description, the technical field, and small description of your patent. The technical features or so on. We will come to each content during our slides now. But I want to show you this one as one of the patents that already granted. Okay, so this is the patent specification that we need to draft. So our reference to consult here is the patent regulations, already included in the resources, and it's downloadable free from my website. Here, where it gives all the regulation and about the drafting, the punctuations, the content, and so on. So this is patent regulations. So please don't mix up patent. We have patent act and we have patent regulations. They are different documents. 10 steps involved in patent drafting. First, of course, spotting the invention. As I mentioned yesterday, the most important part to know where is your invention. Because from all your work, basically a small part actually is the invention, the something that they new. Other than that, majority of your work will be, of course, using established methods. Since for publication, usually they prefer established methods, but established method is not patentable. So you follow always established method, suddenly you have something new, that one is your invention. Established method, go for publication. Generalization, the invention or the concept, because you have done a small part, but now you want to patent that one, then you need to generalize it, because like it become applicable for more than what you have done really. Drawing one or more figures showing the invention, because this is applicable majority for engineering or flow charts, processes. In our case, formulation, usually we do not have drawing, or if it's a drawing, is a simple formulation or drawing, or for example, microparticle composition, nanoparticle, but it's more on the engineering part. Arranging the figures of the drawing in a sequence, deciding on the terminology to describe the invention, drafting the claims, drafting the detailed description, inserting the reference numerals in the claims, writing the introductory part of the description, writing the abstract using the reference numerals. Actually, this one also quite similar in writing the manuscript. I always tell my students, usually the writing is opposite to the sequence of reading. Usually you start reading the abstract, the introduction, and the method and so on, but writing actually opposite way. The abstract is written at the end. Introduction also written, or maybe drafted, but written again in the end of the article. Here also, you start basically, mostly you start with writing the figures, doing the figures, then drafting the claims, but in the arrangement, you can see the claims appear at the end. But when you start writing, you need to write them in the beginning. This is later you format them at the end is okay. But for you to understand what to write, you need to follow not the way you read, but almost opposite way. Then writing the introductory part. Also, after you write the claim and the description, you come back to write the introduction. Writing the abstract using at the end, last thing. So step by step, first spotting the invention. It is common that the inventor doesn't know what is the invention. It's very common, especially if they didn't go through any training. So it blur what is the invention. Commonly mix up between invention and prototype, because prototype is a physical form of the invention, but it's not all the prototype is the invention. Maybe a small part of it, or there is nothing. Basically, maybe there is no invention in the prototype. You can make a prototype, but does it mean it has any invention inside it? Okay, the prototype is only one example or embodiment on how to apply the invention. What is different from the closest prior art? So now, when you have your prototype, when you have your method, you have your process, then you need to figure out what is the difference from the closest prior art, which we discussed in details yesterday in the patentability. Do the feature table. Try to do search, find something close, compare it with you by using the feature table. Go to the claims and do the feature of the prior art claims one by one. Then check if you have something different from the prior art. What is the technical effect of the difference? So what is the, you have add on the prior art. So what is the technical effect come from this addition? This is basically this is yesterday lecture about patentability. Okay, then you need to decide, is it novel? Find a new feature or a combination of non-features that give different effect from individual ones. Identify the problem to be solved and consider the unity of the invention. May need to file more than one invention. We discussed yesterday in more details. We discussed this one yesterday. If this one also consider the unity of the invention. If the invention scope become wide and not connected closely, then you may need to file two or more than one invention. Because the invention usually, or the patent usually is related to one invention only. The thing that they agree to combine basically a product and a process using that product. You can combine them in one invention. But if it's completely two products or far different technical fields, then you need to file two patents. After that, generalize the embodiment of the invention. So as we mentioned, basically almost, maybe you have already the prototype in front of you. This is basically is not the invention itself. This is a one example of the invention. Then now you need to generalize it. After spotting the main new feature, generalize it to move from one example to draft the main claim. Use broad technical concept, broad language, avoid unnecessary limitations. For example, if you are dealing with an example, you can just give an actual example, it's easier to understand. Anyone has, for trying to draft patent something? currently. No, that one is utility innovation already. It's not patentable. This one I think is more related to NPRA. I mean, you can get if you can prove that, maybe synergy effect. But that one is a very special case. I think not everyone in this tree will. It's a very specific to our field, pharmaceutical. Any another example bit more general from engineering, chemistry, technology, therapy, application or you mean it's an application or mobile application or an application? Yeah, I remember yesterday we forgot to discuss this one. Codes and applications cannot be patented. Cannot be patented, but there is you can there is more than one way to go around them, but the code itself cannot be patented. As mentioned, also the method of treatment cannot be patented as well. The code, the system is considered method of use or method of treatment. Become method of treatment really cannot be patented, but you can file copyright for the application, but not under the patent. This one, I think, one of the difference between Malaysia and some other countries. In Malaysia, the codes cannot be patented. If you write a code, it cannot be patented. For ICT, yeah, I think this one. You need to we try to convert it to a product, something like this. See, the system itself, yeah, I understand. Process, but not process of mathematical process or coding. That one, yes, can. For if you try to play around it, something like, if you remember yesterday, we have the mathematical equations or mathematical way to drawing and finding something using math, but they apply it in the CNC machining. Then they patented the method of machining using this mathematical method. So, but the thing in your example, first the code is not patentable, but then you convert it to a product, which is method of treatment. The problem here, the method of treatment is not patentable as well. But if it's a method of doing something like maybe not in the field of treatment, because the field of treatment is the thing that is not patentable as well. So you have two things unpatentable, but need to find the. If you try to make it a product, yes. Try to make it, for example, electronic device using this method. So an electronic, so your patent will become an electronic device, for example, for treatment, yes, because device for treatment can, but method for treatment cannot. A device for treatment composed of, for example, and the device and following the steps or using the process of blah blah blah. Put here your system, but you need to. But the device patentable. Device for treatment patentable. Method for treatment cannot. But the handphone is not is already patented. But if you need try to make it something, yeah, something include your system. Your it's a mobile app, is it? Mobile app. You need to use a patented device already. Yeah, but the hardware, make it a very simple hardware. Inside this hardware, put your everything. Yeah, but the thing. So the system is here. It's you name it a system, but it's a method actually, because the method of treatment or process for treatment method, following the method application, method patent, because patent either product or process, product, device, whatever. But we name it a key system. We put it usually under product. But what I understand from you, it's a method actually, method for the treatment. Even though it's a mobile app, mobile system, whatever, but it's a method for doing this. But because the mobile app itself is not patentable in Malaysia, the software is not patentable. No. Copyright. You may copyright, but the patent scope are different, not as strong as patent. IC layout patentable, not patentable, but they have special IP for IC layout. If you remember yesterday, our the MyIPO website, which we will open again, different IP, because we have copyright, we have patent, we have trademark, we have IC layout. IC layout also special between different countries. Malaysia, if you make an IC, the IC is not patent because basically it's composed of electrical components, all of them known already. But your drawing in IC is different. Then you can protect that one. We have geographic indications and we have industrial design. These are the main categories under IP. So now we are discussing the patent, but this one can be under another scope, which is copyright. Can, if you try, hardware can be patent. Device using that system can. If you want to play around another thing, you combine few components quite new, for example, mobile app, together with the speakers, together with additional thing inside. You may need to put something additional like mobile app, including green screen or something, or a room for the room composed of few things, the speakers for something. I mean, you create something physical. That one can be either utility innovation or patent. If it's have something new, can go for patent. But if no, it's just a few components, but they are new, not inventive, can be under utility innovation. Inside that utility innovation, you put your system. But utility innovation, you will see a phrase, one claim is allowed to put only one claim. You need to press everything in one claim. So that one, in another way to play around how to get it patented. So you need to incorporate it in another patentable form. Always actually there's ways to go around, but need to figure out how. As we yesterday mentioned, there is what they call it Swiss type. I think this one is also a bit quite similar to Swiss type. There's the first medical claim for the substance that is not having any medical benefit, but suddenly you discover a new medical benefit. The first medical use is patentable. Second medical use is not patentable. But to play around, you convert it to product. Product containing this substance for the treatment of blah. So basically, it's become like not the API itself, but any form you formulate it in a product. Yes, but since it's new, you can put very wide CPNs, too much. You can put for the treatment of that new, for the treatment for the new or the second medical use. The second medical use itself not patentable. Convert it to a product, become patentable. Okay. Yes.
For IC. So there's patent application for the there are you mentioned about high mobile communication that communication imaging and sound technology and information communication device. So in this part,
but this is the international system in Malaysia, and this scope different. What I mentioned yesterday, patentability, there is significant difference between Malaysia and other countries. Like in US, everything patentable. This one patentable. The application or the codes, something like patentable. There is one patent for, I think, MP3 or MP4, not the device. The MP3 decoding itself. So I think it's 40 or I don't remember, maybe 100 pages. Like, for example, if you want to convert MP3 to another, the MP3 sound, is it? Sound track to another extension, another file type. The method to convert it using the codes, you will see patents in the Google patent regarding such thing. So this is patentable in some countries. In some other countries, it's not patentable. There is significant difference in this scope between Malaysia and other countries. As far as I know, in Malaysia, such thing is not patentable. And but if you want to make it as a method, not the code itself, maybe it can be patented. Maybe method like of converting, for example, or removing the or clearing the picture. So steps, following steps. This one in some in US, I'm sure this is patentable. In Malaysia, may not be patentable. For IC, you have this problem in Malaysia, because even the hubs itself are not patentable. For this one, also method of treatment is not patentable. This will become like his secret, trade secret, like a trade secret, like trade secret. It's not patentable. I don't think he seek patent because if he seek patent, he need to disclose it. Yeah, but he is not willing. It's fine for patent office, no problem. That one is no problem. But the thing that if he doesn't want to disclose it, basically he cannot be patented. Because the patent that we mentioned is like an agreement between you and the government. You disclose everything to the government so that after 20 years, anyone can use. They will give you monopoly for 20 years, then after that it becomes public. Anyone will copy you. No patent for trade Coca-Cola. Trade secret. Trade secret. No. Yes, trade secret allowed. I think the anti, what you call it, the anti-rust spray W40 something. This is also, I think, trade secret. So how the government will take care of the situation if they are not doing something? Yeah, because it's not like pharmaceutical, you need to disclose everything. I think in food industry or engineering, you are not required to disclose every single component. For pharma and food, there's no trade secret because you need to disclose everything to the NPRA or something. You cannot have something like trade secret. But engineering, food, they can. You don't want to disclose how you do it. Yeah. For computer and applications, they have problem. You know, from the time we attend the trainings and so on, they have problem in Malaysia for the patenting. You can make it a trademark, Doctor. You can make it as a trademark, combined trademark, copyright.
Like normally, but for patent, one of our researchers got patent, but only because she's from the networking background. She has patent by the time. So, if I'm not mistaken, the patent regarding the system MFX. The system MFX. So,
yeah, you need to see how they write it.
Looking into the details. But most of our researchers actually develop the application and also develop the market.
That one majority is not patentable. Can go for copywriting. But in your case, for the treatment, if you try to convert it to something physical, not only a device like a room for treatment, for example, a small room composed of the mobile app and other things in the room, then it become like something physical. Then can go out of patent or utility innovation.
Let's say the system one together with the smartwatch and so on, that one can be.
Yeah, if you combine few things, can be patented or utility innovation, depends on having invented them. Yeah, but now they combine two together. Combination of two together can be novel sometimes, but maybe not majority not invented still, but novel. There are some examples like the wireless mouse, because the mouse is already there. Wireless use also they are using different devices, but wireless mouse is quite new. So this one majority can go for utility innovation, not patent. You can see something really new, but all the components already there, but they combine mouse plus wireless, so become new. So this one utility innovation. So you can think something similar. This one, if you cannot patent it in Malaysia, you may want to patent another country. You can. Yeah. After you get like from MyIPO office that unpatentable, then maybe you are free to file another country. This is the patentability. There is many differences between Malaysia and other countries. The most I think in the US is the easiest because everything is patentable. Everything, almost they have no restriction. Of course, other than the one that is general, the mathematical equations and doing business. This is quite general. But other than that, they agree to patent these modified animals, genes, and so on. A lot of things patentable there. Not familiar. But if you go alone without patent agent, it's not very costly. I think that's, if I remember, $500, $700, something like this. It's not really much. But you need to check also the regulation. If you are not resident there, maybe you need to submit through agent. Like in Malaysia, if you are not resident, you need to submit through agent. Yeah, even like you can bet in anything, even if it's very simple. They will see some crazy patterns. Of course, yeah, because the lawyers get most money. 5 years. After 2 months from filing in Malaysia, you can file in US. Some of that. Okay, we continue. So after we spot the main features, we try to generalize them from moving from one example to draft the main claim. Here we generalize by your as you mentioned, your embodiment is actually one example, but we need to generalize it. For example, if we take the process of extraction, for example, if it's patentable, you make a process of extraction using maybe ethanol and a temperature of 60. Okay, this is your embodiment, your example. Now you need to generalize it. Think about ethanol. Ethanol is an alcoholic solvent. then your patent will not be using ethanol. You need to generalize it using alcoholic solvent to make it. If it works, you know it works, then use alcoholic solvents instead of using ethanol. Okay, general. For temperature, maybe 50, 60, but maybe it work with a wider range, then widen also your scope. Then draft your drawing. They are required if necessary to understand the invention, multi-step process until you draw the details of the invention. Usually the drawing need to be very detailed. So depends on your field. In our pharmaceutical field is drawing are not much helpful. Sometimes we put our graphs that same in the publication like FTIR or so on as drawing, but they are not actually the most commonly used drawing. Most commonly used drawing is how you draw your device or how you do the flow chart of your process is considered also drawing. But need to make it detailed. Then decide on the terminology to describe the invention. Here, get help from the dictionary, similar published patents, to use the terms they are using. Okay, this is also very important. Depends on the term you use, basically you narrow down or you widen your protection. If having drawing, rename each element from specific name to a broader name. Okay. For example, if your drawing has for example, bolt, screw and bolt, and if you know it's not necessary to be screw and bolt, you don't name it screw, for example, and bolt, name it fastening mean. Then fastening means can be screw and bolt, can be maybe belt, anything to fasten that one. Then it become you widen your protection. For example, also if you are using copper wire, so no need to make it copper wire, but name it as electrical conductor. So by this way, you protect against metal, stainless steel, copper mixed with something else. Drafting after that, the important part is drafting the claims. So from your drawing, from your sketching of the main features of your invention, you can start writing your claims. The claims defines the matter of which protection is sought. So here actually what you own is the claims. They should be clear and concise, fully supported by the description. After you draft the claims, every part, every word need to be supported inside the specification, the description. Independent claims, they are self-contained statements. First one can be called the main claim. So we start with the main claim. Dependent claims refer to previous claim using words like as claimed in claim 1 according to claim 2, which we will see also after a while. Claims shall not refer to description or drawing, meaning that you cannot use as described in paragraph blah blah. It needs to be independent, need to be standalone. You can refer to some technical features used in the drawing, but use the numbers, because in the drawings we use numbers 1, 2, 3 across different drawings. Actually, the same component has the same number all across all the drawings together. So you can mention fastening mean, for example, in bracket 1 and blah blah, but don't use according to figure 1 as shown in figure 1. You cannot use such words. A statement, it composed of a statement and permeable and then characterization part. First, a statement and permeable list down the features, then characterized by characterization to show their connectivity or the important feature and so on. So this is the way of writing the claim. And we focus more now on the independent claim. So writing the independent claim, for example, the toothbrush, this in bracket 11 refer to the drawing, in the drawing of the toothbrush, the one part number 11. And you need to put in a bracket, because inside description there's no bracket. This is important punctuation. You need to put it in a bracket in the claims. So a toothbrush for brushing teeth. So this is the permeable for brushing teeth. But this also describes the technical field here. As you remember, if you have, for example, not a toothbrush, a brush for brushing teeth also can, but a brush also can be used for other cleaning. So here you specify the technical field. Yes? Sure. Malaysia only. The patent is territorial, so it's okay. When the question here, when we apply the patent via IIUM, does it applicable only in Malaysia, or is it applicable worldwide? It's applicable only in Malaysia. In yesterday we discussed this one in the patent law. Across all over the world, every patent, the patent is territorial. When you file patent in Malaysia, you get the protection only in Malaysia. If you want to seek protection in China, you need to file in China as well. And you need to file in Thailand. And you need to file in Europe. In every specific country, you need to file. Even if you file in, this is also one of the misconceptions. There is IPO, International Patent Organization. If you file in IPO, you still need to file in each country. But what is make it easier is the examination. If it's filed there and approved there, then it becomes easier to file in other countries. You don't need to go through the full examination. They can use the same examination used before. Other patent office done the examination, they use it. So they come faster and easier to be granted. But you still need to file in each country you seek protection. So this is the patent. We can repeat like yesterday. If you patent a device in Malaysia, only in Malaysia, you can stop anyone from manufacturing this device in Malaysia. And even if someone in China manufactured your device, you cannot do anything because you do not have protection in China. But what you can stop them is from exporting to Malaysia only, because you have protection only in Malaysia from use, from manufacturing, from sale, everything. So you can protect yourself only in Malaysia. Okay, so now we go back to writing the independent claim. So the format looks like this: a toothbrush, so starting statement, for brushing teeth. This is the technical field or the permeable, comprising here a brush head. This is in the drawing, but I think we don't have the drawing here. Okay. A brush head, and this is wrong. This is come from copy. Sorry, the 5 is not there. An elongated cartridge, wherein here is or characterized by. Then you write the connection. For example, the elongated cartridge connected to or stuck to or elongated from the brush head, or characterized by the brush head is composed of plastic or composed of rubber, the elongated cartridge composed of rubber or something like this. So you need to put the characterization, which may be sometimes either one of the component is your distinguished feature from prior art, or the characterization is your feature that is new to the prior art. Then, after you draft the main claim or the independent claim, we go to the dependent claims. The dependent claims, they concern particular embodiments of the invention. So meaning that now you can cut down the independent claim. Each part you can explain it further. For example, if you have this toothbrush, this is the independent claim, because here in the independent claim you put the minimum features required for the patent to work. Don't put everything here, because if you put more, you restrict your claim. You narrow down your claim. But how to get further explanation for the brushing, for example, for the brush head? Now we write the dependent claim. The dependent claim will start with same toothbrush for brushing teeth as claimed in claim 1. Further comprising brush head characterized by the brush head is made of, for example, made of plastic. Then another embodiment, if you think it works with plastic and metal, you can repeat again in another dependent claim made of metal. Usually we don't use or. If you want to use or, no, we use everyone become independent claim. For example, in our formulation for pharmaceutical, we write the independent claim as wide as possible. For example, it's a simple formulation of tablet API plus, for example, one excipient. For let's say, take for example, take for example the cellulose, one of the cellulose derivatives, or macrocrystalline cellulose, for example. Then in the independent claim, the main claim, no need to put macrocrystalline cellulose. We can put tablet formulation comprising the drug, for example, ibuprofen, and a cellulose derivative or a cellulose polymer. Okay, then you protect yourself for anyone using any cellulose. Then, if you want to get it more, you get more embodiments. Now we have examples. One example use, for example, microcrystalline cellulose. One example use carboxymethyl cellulose. One example use ethyl cellulose. Then they are all cellulose derivatives. You put the dependent claims now. The dependent claim 1 is tablet as tablet formation. You start with the same statement in the independent. Further, for where the cellulose derivative is carboxymethyl cellulose. Then another dependent claim where is the cellulose derivative is ethyl cellulose. Then another dependent claim, for example, you can put another cellulose derivative. So this is how we write the dependent claim, and this is the purpose of writing dependent claims. So you don't need to put them in the independent, because if in the independent you put in the formulation that composed of ibuprofen and carboxymethyl cellulose, if someone else come and make a formulation from ethyl cellulose, you cannot do anything, because your protection is against carboxymethyl cellulose only. Make it wide first, then put examples in the dependent claims. Claim 1 is the independent claim, the very wide one. Claim 1, yes. Then dependent claims become now more as examples. If you are concerning, now we start with, for example, in the process of extraction, we start the independent claim as alcoholic solvents, make it general. Then the dependent claim 1, where alcoholic solvent is ethanol. Another one, methanol. Another one, isopropanol. Everyone is independent claim, but everyone need to be supported later during the description. Okay, we need to get example of it in the during the writing the description. For example, example 1, extraction using methanol. Example 2, or embodiment 2, extraction using ethanol. Example, another example, extraction using isopropanol. And here you can see how the pattern drafting becomes bigger and bigger. We need to write more. Yes? Okay. There is another purpose of this kind of writing. We will see it after a while. So dependent claims, they concern particular embodiments. Embodiments we need, examples of the invention. Group them together based on their reference to the independent claims. So the independent claim 1, all the dependent claims under it, then independent claim 2, then dependent claims under them. So it's just I think everyone will follow this one because this is how we write. They incorporate all the limitations of the independent claims they refer to. So need to also so the dependent claim depends on the previous claim. So everything limited in the independent, of course, it's limited also in the dependent. Further comprising or further including is used commonly to narrow down a claim by adding another element or step, which is in the dependent claim. And it's not a problem now. If you narrow down, it's not a problem because the main protection is in the independent claim. Here is more as explanations. So example, the toothbrush as claimed in claim 1 wearing. So dependent claim 2 depends on claim 1. This is how we write it. We need to start writing with the same statement exactly. So now, after we write the independent claim, and from the independent claim, we know how we widen the scope, then start giving examples. We think about every word. Every word you think about it. When you write your independent claim, there is brush head. Okay, let's say what we can do under brush head. One dependent claim, brush head further composed of, for example, or made of metal. Another one made of plastic. Another one made of rubber. Then think about elongated cartridge. Elongated cartridge, for example, connected straight forward to the brush head. Another one connected through a neck, or not really straightforward, maybe having this curved structure. Another example, to now start to think how to all the ways every word can take, all the ways. Then everyone will be a dependent claim. Now we need to go back to start writing the description, where every dependent claim need to have an embodiment. Example. No, you can be more than one, but commonly they are not many. So many ones are the dependent, because if it become many, mostly your invention scope become now not same. Then they will ask you to divide the invention. So mostly 2 or 3 independent claims. In most of the claims I've seen, Malaysia, majority 2, can be more than 2 independent, one product, one for the process from the product, and then each one has so many dependent claims, but not necessary to be 2. In the US and other, you can see quite more than 1, 2, but they are all under exactly the same scope. If you start to deviate further, then you need to think about the unity of the invention. They will ask you to divide.
The one will be independent for the process, the 2 will be independent for the product.
Claim 1, the independent claim. After that, claim 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all dependent claims to claim 1. Then independent claim Because it's independent claim 2, but maybe it's claim 10. Claim 10 sequence. Okay, so now draft the detailed description to disclose and teach the invention. So now you need to teach the invention, teach how to manufacture it, how to do the process, how to assemble the device in very details. So this one will support the claims. Whatever claims, you need to be supported by the disclosing the invention. If you didn't support the claim with the description sufficiently, then they will ask you to revise the claims, to narrow down the claims after the report. And this will be trouble for you because you lose some part of the protection. So you need to support your claims with the examples. To provide the basic for interpretation of the claims. Here also, it will give the reader or the examiner more like if the claim uses specific words, then it will have more explanation how to explain this claim. To provide the context within which to view the claims, also similar. Okay, this is very important. To provide the basic for further amendment of the claims after the examination, for example. Okay, as we mentioned, at the time of filing, you need to put everything because there is no way to do amendment on the what we call the subject matter. You cannot change anything inside the description. But after the examination, they may ask you to revise the claims. The claims can be revised, but you cannot change whatever inside the description. So if you didn't put sufficient information in the description, then you need to delete or restrict your claims. And sometimes you can use actually your patent because the claims are, for example, there is no inventive step in the claims. Then they will ask you to delete. You are not entitled for patent. It will be refused. But if there is inside your description, you already describe something you feel it's not okay. There is inventive step there. You can revise the claim to include that one. This is why you see that they write in the description so long thing, everything, so that later they may need to use some information in the description to amend the claims. So if you were attacked by the claim, it's not inventive or it's not novel, the only way to amend it or to change it is to amend it with something written inside the description. Other than that, you cannot amend. So if you just describe whatever in the claims directly, if you are attacked in the claims, that's the end. But if there is a lot of other information written there, so maybe you can take some part of them and use them to amend the claims. Amending the claims is possible after the examination, but inside description, no way to amend. So whatever you got, this is what we call inside the description the subject matter. And so you cannot change beyond the subject matter. You can't add anything. For example, you got a new result, new information. Maybe you refine your process further. You cannot add them. If you didn't put them already there, you cannot add them. So always you will see especially in the US patents, the description is very long. Even though the claims may be two claims, 4 claims, 10 claims, 1 page or 2 pages, description sometimes go for 40 pages, 50 pages, 100 pages, sometimes the description. Because it gives you pay a lot for drafting and for filing. So this is the only way you can change your claims if you were attacked by the examiner. So you need to put everything inside the description and put more beyond the claims themselves. And in the examiner report, we have used such thing actually to amend the claims. And this is also to add more as dependent claims. One purpose is to amend the main claim later, because they may ask you to combine some of the independent claim with some dependent claims to become inventive. It will be more restrictive, but you still can get patent. So why we write more dependent claims? We write them also to give us a chance for amendment later. For example, if we were attacked that the drug ibuprofen plus cellulose derivatives is not inventive because there is other formulation used before. You remember specific kill the generic. Then in your dependent claims, there is the use of ethyl cellulose. So the use of ethyl cellulose was not used before. So they can ask, they may ask you, or you can actually reply in the report. Now you amend the main claim to the independent claim to be not cellulose esters or cellulose derivatives, make it ethyl cellulose. API plus ethyl cellulose. Then it becomes novel independent. Then you will get it granted. But of course, now become more narrow. But you still be granted the patent. This is another reason of having so many dependent claims. And writing the way of writing independent plus dependent. We try to get the maximum protection. If we fail, we can now combine some dependent claims, push them up to the independent to make it inventive or novel. No. Whatever written in the first time, that's the end. And actually, the truth that they will not check you have done the experiment or not. It's not like the peer review articles. They will not check, no one will check if you have done the experiment or not. If you write it in a way that looks working, it will work. That's it. It's not like the peer review articles. It's intellectual property. So, but you need to support it with the logical examples. Okay. So it's a very important way of writing the claims. Here where actually the techniques that sometimes you may need a review for your draft to change. As I mentioned, it's a small word, small arrangement can really make a big difference. Okay, drafting the detailed description shall be detailed enough to be reproducible or reproduced by a person skilled in the art. As we mentioned, the government gave you monopoly, provided that you disclose it in a way anyone later in this field can reproduce it. Describe at least one way of carrying out the claims. So basically, the main claim or each dependent claim, give it one example or one way of carrying out, either one example or one embodiment. Write as a telling story, context of the invention, then the main structure, then more details and specific embodiments. So this is the only chance to describe the invention. After filing, no way to change the description. You can use the description information to amend the claims after filing, as we discussed before. After, for example, after examination report, and in a way, do not go beyond the subject matter of the invention. You cannot add more experiments. You cannot add new finding, cannot. Write the embodiments, then write the alternatives. If you have an alternative way of carrying out, the embodiments are the physical form that supposedly it works and you prove it works as working. Then you may write an alternatives. Inserting the reference numbers. So after we write the description now, we almost 80% done. inserting the reference numbers in the claims, the numbers you see before in the brackets, now you can put them because you already refined the drawings. Then you can put them if they are needed. If there is no needed, no problem. Write the introduction part of the description, state the title, the technical field, indicate the background art, like the literature review, and cite the related documents, mostly patents. Disclose the invention as claimed to show the technical problem and the solution, like stating your proposal, you state the problem statement and your method of solving the problem statement and why you are advantageous over the previous research or previous prior art. So this is a bit similar to what we do in research articles. Briefly describe the drawings. Break, okay. Where we are now? Can we just finish this because this is last number 10. Step number 10, writing the abstract. It helps to know what is the patent about, maximum 150 words, often based on the main claim, but not necessarily. Just like describe your invention, basically your main claim describe the invention. The main necessary features of the. Yeah, but maybe you twist the writing a little bit. And describe the technical field in the maybe first sentence. This is related to blah blah. Doesn't contribute to the disclosure of the invention. Basically, you rarely get a comment on the abstract. Like the technical field, the main claims or other features. Basically, it's not a very critical component of that. You need to be there, but rarely you will get a review and doesn't contribute to your disclosure or protection or whatever. It's just help when you do search or something, you can see what's there. Okay, maybe we can take a break now. How now it's 10:40. Claims, only claims. Background can be short, but the description as long as possible. Yes, is your experiments, what you have done, as long as possible. Because even though you are not protected from the description, but basically they are prior arts to others. So they can actually prohibit others from filing new patents. Because prior art is not only your claim, you can use your description to invalidate future patents from competitors. You can use not only the claims, you can use your description as well. But description is a prior art also. So as long and detailed as possible. But you are protected, you own only the claims. So the claims is the one that you use, you own. The description and others, you can actually pick out others using description or anything inside your claim. So you need to make it as long as possible. No limit. Okay, so how long it take? Now it's 10:40, 10:50. Okay. Okay, so let's come back at 10:50.
If I need I need to send something to the clinic or send again the job.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Let's continue our slides. Dr. Farah will be late a bit. Ask to continue. Okay, now practicing patent drafting. Let's take some more specific examples and ways to write. Actually, all these punctuation and regulations already written inside the patent regulation. It's not a big document, 37 pages, more less than 40 pages, I think. So focus on using technical language compared to patent language. So here where you need to learn some of the languages they use. If you read more and more patents, then you figure out how they use the wording. If we try to read some patents first, then you can see how they use it. For example, instead of using swimming pool, use this funny words. Water retaining recreational structure. Nice, is it? Because if you have swimming pool and someone else make it as something for the same function, but it's not called swimming pool, basically you do not have the protection. But now you write it in a way, a very general way, giving the same function, but anyone use something water structure to retain water, you protect yourself against him. Okay. Yeah, can if you find another more general, more funny words, you can use it. And you will find a lot of such things in your site patents, and you will now. I think now you can understand why they write it, these words. They use these words. And instead of saying balloon, use a spherical device filled with gas for recreational purpose, for example. Same. Paper bin, the arrangement for the disposal or of refuse. Yes, because same. If you write paper bin and someone use, for example, plastic bin or something for plastic, then actually you lost your patent against him. Someone used another thing, but it's not called bin, but it's used for that purpose. Then he can argue it's not a bin. Then you will lose your protection against him. But now, if you use these general words, arrangement, so any kind of arrangement, maybe circular, maybe a type of bin, maybe a box, can be a box, anything will be called arrangement for the disposal or of the refuse, then you can protect yourself. And instead of using shoe, you can use footwear, for example. Because if someone maybe you put in your patent application in the claim shoe for blah blah or shoe made of blah blah, then someone use not shoe, maybe use a slipper, something like this, then you lost your protection. But footwear is very general. Okay, so this is the process. Okay. Oh, really? Need to. Need to consider this in slides, is it? Sometimes we overlook. The independent claim, make the claim as broad as prior art permits by. So meaning that as far as you can widen your independent claim, try to do so. For this purpose, sometimes you can see the difference between the same application. If you remember, the same application in US, end with A is the one that submitted, end of B is the one that granted. Get the same number, the A and B, you see the difference. The one that they submitted is very broad, but the one that granted is more restrictive because they try to submit as broad as possible. Then they will have the examiner report. They will ask them to restrict. Then they will restrict according to the examiner report. So they don't restrict themselves from the beginning. Maybe the examiner will not ask to restrict as far as that. Then they will keep as much broad as possible. Even for example, for our previous example, if you want a tablet formulation from ibuprofen and, for example, we say any cellulose, we use cellulose, what you call kind of cellulose derivative. We write cellulose derivative, but another actually patent drafter or patent agent who is also maybe more professional, he may use wider range because cellulose at the end it's a carbohydrate polymer. He may use ibuprofen and a carbohydrate polymer. Then basically he widens further the protection. Another one maybe can use ibuprofen plus pharmaceutically accepted excipient. Then any excipient now you protect yourself against. Of course, this one, when they apply, they write it this way. And in the dependent claim, they start listing down 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 type of excipients and so on. So they will get the examiner report. So the examiner report may ask to combine independent claim plus claim 2, 3, and 4, for example, to become inventive. Or then at that time you narrow down your claim to be approved. There is no problem to narrow down because it's already in the subject matter. It's already written there. So you will get the examiner report, and you have a chance to reply and change it to become inventive. So you will find in the applications they write it this way. They widen it as much possible as you can. If needed, they narrow down later. Sometimes the examiner will not detect, or he will accept that one. Then you will be actually protected. You will get protection for ibuprofen plus any excipient. So meaning that any further formulation come after that, they need to get license using any other excipient. Reciting also as few elements as you can, because adding more element will restrict your claim further. Because someone with less elements, you cannot sue someone with less elements. You can sue someone with more elements. You can protect yourself from someone who use more elements, same elements or more. You cannot protect yourself from someone who use less elements. You remember the example of the tea bag. If you want to protect, you invent a tea bag, then you write filter plus string plus sticker. Someone come up with a product with filter only, which is already in the market, no need for the string. Basically, you cannot actually do anything for them. They use less features because your product has 3 features in the independent claim. But if you make your independent claim only filtering bag, because this is the main feature to work, others are unnecessary features, additional features. You put them in the dependent claims later. Then anyone with a filter bag, they need to get license from you. Okay, so this is the way of writing the independent claims. Using the broadest possible terms to make it more difficult for infringing. For example, a rice cooking apparatus. So this is your invention. you invent a rice cooking apparatus. This is the embodiment you have, the prototype. But when you come to write the claims, don't write it in this way. You may write it a grain cooking apparatus, because you think you believe that it can be used also for other than rice. But then if it can be used for even vegetables and so on, write it as a cooking apparatus. Okay. There's something called free beer claim. Okay. Free beer claiming all solutions to a problem, but providing one or two ways to solve it is not allowed. So you can widen your claim, but you need to provide the embodiments and ways to conduct these claims. So this is why your description need to be as detailed as possible, and give every dependent claim, you need to give examples for it. Rejected as obvious or failing to recite essential features. So meaning that you don't know how to write the claims, you cannot actually figure out what is the essential feature for your invention. So they will reject your application. Punctuation of claim. A claim consists of one sentence with a comma after the permeable and a colon after a transitional phrase. Each element gets its own paragraph, semicolon at the end, and between the last two. You don't need to remember this one, you can refer back to them, but the best is to get an example or a template, accepted the patent first, and do exactly same. As I mentioned, you are user, so you just get someone approved patent before and do something similar. Okay? Then you will get the format already correct, the punctuation correct, follow them. For example, this one, a device, so statement, then need to put a comma, comprising, colon, then listing the parts, a first part, blah, 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 whatever, then you put a semicolon. Then a second part, blah, 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 semicolon, and at the end, you put and, third part, blah, blah, blah. Then it's not common, no, not. The claim is one sentence. You have full stop only at the end of the claim. The whole claim is one sentence, even though if it's half page, it's one sentence. And actually, it's not necessary also to put it in lines. You can make it continuous, but it's just for you and for examiner easier to read. You can cut it in this way. Okay, so this is another example. Pencil with eraser and light. For example, this is a pencil, but it has a light also. So you need to have this in or an in the beginning, apparatus, comma, comprising, then colon, a pencil, then another one, an eraser attached to an end of the pencil, because now it's like normal English, because we already know what is the pencil, we use that. Then at the last, we use and, a light, then semicolon, then we put the characterized by or wearing. Characterized by a light attached to the proximal center of the pencil, then at the end, full stop. So this is actually a typical claim punctuation. This one is not necessary. You can make it one sentence, but it's actually just easier to read, and for you and even for the examiners to read, to arrange it this way, but it's not necessary. The punctuation is the important part. The claim cannot be just list of parts. Must write how they are related to each other. So here you can see an eraser attached to an end of the pencil. You need to see how they are connected to each other or related to each other, if there is a relationship. Then also in the characterized by, you need to put a feature, the main feature or the connection or something. Cannot be just list of part 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to put the connection and the feature. A or an introduces an element for the first time, then we have said or the refer back to the previously introduced element. It's like normal in English, we start with a or an, but after that, if we use the same word again, we use that or said. It's very common in patent. Instead of using that, they use said. So don't worry, said means just that. We can rewrite this one. A pencil or an apparatus comprising a pencil and a razor attached to an end of said pencil and a light characterized by a light attached to the proximity center of said pencil. Something like this. Or said light, you can be also that also attached to proximity center of the or of said pencil. So said and that we have same meaning in that. Improper use of above articles a and said and that is one of the most common reasons of rejecting claims. We need to pay a lot of attention to this one because this is actually the technical art of writing claim, how to make patent looks different from normal research articles and so on. It has its own way of writing. Example of proper use said and done. An article of furniture, you can see, for holding objects for a sitting human, okay, comma, comprising. We see later what is the difference between using these words. Comprising a sheet of rigid material having sufficient size to accommodate use by a human being for writing and working. A plurality of elongated support members of equally. This one here they use comma because this is not a Malaysian patent. The Malaysian patent, this one we need to use semicolon. So it's some difference between different patent offices. Said support members being joined perpendicularly to the undersurface surface of said sheet of rigid material at space locations so as to be able to support said rigid member in a horizontal orientation. You can see said mean just simply that. But this is the patent language. Okay, but the registration here is different because this is not a Malaysian application. Now, these phrases are very important, and there is very significant differences between them. The first one is comprising. So comprising means having at least the following elements. Okay, so they don't have very broad and open claim. So this is the use of comprising in patent. It means having at least. So you are protected from others who have more. Meaning that if you said you have one comprising 1, 2, and 3, then someone come on 1, 2, 3, 4, they cannot do that because you are still protected. So this is the meaning of comprising. For example, a writing instrument which comprises a pencil and a clip for holding the apparatus in a product, said clip being attached to said pencil. This is one writing instrument comprising a pencil and a clip. I think this is the pencil that has the mechanical, is it? Mechanical pencil. This claim covers all writing instruments which have at least a pencil and a clip. At least. So this is when we want to use the minimum feature, the minimum number of elements, use the word comprising. Such as an eraser attached to the pencil will be covered under this claim. So if someone come up with invention, have pencil, clip, and eraser, they need to get license from you because you are protecting. You are protected against them. They have more features. The claim has become very broad by the use of word comprises or comprising. Okay, so if you claim A, B, C, D and use the word comprising A, B, C, and D, then one invention or product later use A, B, C, D, E, they infringe your patent. So you can sue them in the court. If another product use A, B, and C, they are not infringing. They still can use their product. As we mentioned before, the tea bag and string and sticker. Then someone come up with the tea bag, the filter only. Basically, they are not infringing your patent. So this is the comprising. The other word is consisting. Consisting means consisting only of. So imply a narrow claim. Usually used in the chemical compounds. This consisting only of. If you claim your product consisting A, B, C, and D, and some product use A, B, C, D, E, is not infringing. If another product use A, B, C, D, also not infringing, because you are protected against someone who use A, B, C, D exactly. Okay? So it's very important. These words are very, very important. So you can see one word change completely your protection. If you wrongly use consisting instead of using comprising, then you are in a very big trouble. Consisting means consisting only of, mean exactly contain 1, 2, 3, 4. Not less, not more. If you want to broaden, it's comprising. But this one is common to use in chemical compounds. For chemical compounds, it consists of formulation. Comprising is better because you can protect from adding more excipient. So we use comprising. The phrase consists of pharmaceutical composition, which consists of agent A and pharmaceutically accepted carrier. This claim covers composition of only A and the carrier, nothing else. If product contain A plus carrier plus ingredient B, then doesn't infringe. So consisting of is like consisting. Okay? So consisting of means consisting only of. Consist of and consisting are the same meaning. Exactly consisting of this ingredient 1, 2, 3, 4. But if someone use less, will not infringe your patent. And someone who use more will not infringe your patent. But comprising means having at least 1, 2, 3, 4. If someone have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you are protected. So when we use the minimum number of elements, we use comprising. So in the formulations, we commonly use comprising because we want to protect against someone who use more. If our tablet formulation is, for example, drug and diamond only, it works. We protect it against anyone use more ingredient. If someone added, for example, binder, we are still protected against it because we are only 2. He has now 3. But if we use less, then we are not protected. So the practice actually is 90% in our applications we use comprising. So avoid using consisting. But sometimes maybe when revising the claim, maybe they will ask you to, or you can change the claim to, if it didn't work with comprising, then it will become inventive or novel if you use consisting. But of course, now it becomes very narrow. Because this change doesn't go beyond the subject matter, but just you are narrowing down your protection. The claims can be classified in categories: product claim or apparatus or device. And we have the process claim or use or method. So we have basically product claim and method claim or process claim. The system usually, the system, or what we call system commonly, it's under product claim. The system, because it's different devices together or so on. For doctor, the ICT, sometimes they, for ICT, or I just remember, if you want to convert it to a kit, for example, network also can be protected. A kit comprising, for example, mobile phone, application, and some other things, then you can file a patent for that one. Same like the diagnostic kit. The method for diagnosis for COVID, for example, cannot be patented. But the kit or the reagents used for diagnosis can be patented. So in commonly they convert something to kit. Then you can file a patent for that kit or utility innovation. A method or a process claim, for example, because most of our example before were about products. Method or a process, a method for joining two pieces of cloth together at their edge, comprising the steps of providing, say, two pieces of cloth and positioning them together so that an edge, blah, blah. So, and whereby, say, two pieces will be attached along, say, edge portion. So there always you need to have this, something, the method for blah, 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 comprising the steps of now 1, 2. So if someone, since we use comprising, if another patent has A, B, and C step, then you are protected against them. They cannot file that patent. But if someone uses only one step, you are not protected against them. Okay? If someone uses a method for only one step, you have now 2 steps to do this method. Someone use one step, basically he can file patent, or if doesn't file patent and he has this process, you cannot do anything because they don't infringe your patent. Okay. We have what we call the claim tree. So the claim tree, usually we don't provide this one in the thing, but sometimes some of the search engines, they draw for you the claim tree, and also for you, just for you to understand your patent. We have, for example, claim 1, independent claim, then claim 2, dependent on claim 1, claim 5, dependent on claim 1, claim 2 has claim 3 dependent on claim 2, and claim 4 dependent also on claim 2. So here claim 3 dependent on claim 2, and basically claim 2 depends on claim 1. Can be like that, no problem. But when we write claim 1, claim 2, then we go claim 4, claim 3, claim 4, then we write claim 5. This is the sequence how we write them. We start with the independent, dependent on that one, dependent on that one, and we name them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then claim 5 directly go back to dependent claim 1. So basically, this is how, just for us to understand our claim tree. No need, this one will not submit. We will not submit it to anywhere. Not part of the description. This is also just to show that when you increase the number of words in the claim, basically your scope become less. So try to use the minimum wording. any word you add, it will be used against you. So what is a well-drafted patent? Well-drafted patent. A patent must give max scope of protection to an invention, and this is determined especially by the claim. If a patent specification is not worded carefully, it might be difficult later to bring an infringer to the court. It is in your interest to make your claims as broad as possible. Because actually, if you want to get it patented quickly, you can make the claim very narrow, but that is commercially not viable. But it's, of course, it's easier to patent a narrow claim, but it's not really commercially viable because they're protected against very wide, very narrow scope of marketing or industry. So you need to make your patent wider. It becomes more difficult to be patented because, of course, now they will search. There is a lot of prior arts related when you make it wider. But if it's granted, you can be protected against wide-ranging industry. So in the submission, no problem to make it wide. And embodiment, give yourself a chance to amend later after the examination. However, the claim must be clear and concise and must be supported and agree with the description. Helpful hint to get technical words, features by looking at retro or respective technical journal or published granted patent in case of Malaysia or United States or published patent applications. Okay. So good to have from the same scope of your patent, get some granted patents, read them, see how they work. Because it actually, like in our pharmaceutical, it's rarely to find word formulation. Usually we don't use formulation, we use composition. Because composition is more general than formulation. For example, say you have invented a table, possibly claim can be an apparatus characterized by a square surface supported by 4 legs at right angles to the surface and made of plastic. This would make it easy for someone else to benefit from your invention without infringing it. For instance, someone could come up with a round table supported by 4 legs, or because you said here a square surface. So the square is not necessary feature. You add it and you make it like it's not necessary because someone now can make a round table and basically he not infringe your thing. Or someone else can make square surface hanging from the ceiling, example, then also not infringing your name. Here also, for example, you make 4 legs at right angles to the surface and made of plastic. But if the 4 legs are not the right angles, it's not infringing the claim. For example, this table is not right angle, is it? See the exam table. It's not a right angle. Basically, this is not infringing this claim because it's slightly or significantly, actually not slightly, significantly not perpendicular or not in the right angle. So remember, after you can start with drafting your idea, hold the claim exactly as it, then go back to refine it. See if this word is important or necessary or not. Then this word can be replaced by a wider scope of work. Okay? So this is how we write the claims. Okay, any question? Because basically we are close to finish the slides. So these are the important tips how to write and the claim and the use of patent language, not the use of our normal technology or scientific language. It's even not normal scientific language, it's combined science and some law or regulation knowledge or terminology. Any question? Try after this to think about your ideas, to take some examples. We'll discuss them. Okay, regulation 17, this is part of the patent regulation. Measures, terminology, and signs. So units of weight and measures shall be expressed in terms of the metric system. So this is in millimeter. Temperature should be in Celsius. Densities shall be expressed in metric units. Heat, energy, light, sound, magnetism, mathematical formula, electrical units, and rules shall the rules of international practice shall be observed. Okay, so following the international standards. For chemical formula, the symbols, atomic weights, and molecular formula is in general use shall be employed. Also follow the standard methods in the chemical science, chemistry science. In general, only such technical terms, signs, and symbols are generally accepted in the field in question should be used. The terminology and the signs shall be consistent throughout the application. Okay, when you use, for example, instead of using balloon, you use plastic or rubber container. You need to use rubber container throughout the patent. Don't mix up the terminology. I think this is also applicable to our normal research articles. When you use something, we need to continuously using it one. Don't mix up. Regulation 18, physical requirements, or as a format as well. And is provided otherwise, the application and any accompanying statements or documents shall be filed in duplicate. Okay. This is when you submit your application, but the registrar may require that they be filed in more than 2 copies. All documents of the application shall be as presented as to admit of direct reproduction by photography, electrostatic process, photo offset, and microfilming. Okay, for example, the paper size and so on, you need to make it practical because they require there to be reproduced. So don't use, for example, drawing on A1 size paper so that no one can copy it or photostate it. Just use a standard way. Think about they will reproduce it. All sheets shall be free from cracks, creases, and folds, and only one side of each sheet contained in the application shall be used. Don't write on the double paper. Use only one side. All documents of the application shall be in A4 paper, which shall be strong, white, smooth, not shiny, and durable. Notwithstanding some regulation for the registrar may accept sheets of sizes other than A4. The minimum margins shall be 2 centimeters for the format. As I mentioned, it's good to have some of the patent that already granted and use it as a template for you in terms of format. I think the office already, I believe, now has more than 100 granted applications. So make them all available. Then can give them to the researcher, depends on the field as templates, because it's much easier to take one example. For example, I have Microsoft Word file. When we communicate with the patent agents before, we got these files. Then actually you can give them to the researchers as templates. Make a repository for such thing. To compile. patent agents or from the researchers themselves, because they communicate with the researchers. They send the communication and the original file to the researcher. So it's there somewhere. So if someone from pharmaceutical, they can use this granted patent as a template. See, at least the format is correct. Yeah, the steps and how they write, then they modify it. But they keep the formatting, all these simple things which may delay the application because of the simply formatting, the margins, so on. They just keep it because it's already correct. All sheets shall be numbered at the top of the sheet, in the middle, in consecutive Arabic numerals. The text matter of the application shall be typed or printed in a dark, indelible color in at least 1.5 line spacing. These all important formatting to me. But graphic symbols, chemicals, or mathematical formula and certain characters may, if necessary, be written, handwritten or drawn. Drawing commonly is hand drawn. In the application, every fifth line of each sheet of the description and the claims shall be numbered in Arabic numerals, placed to the left of the relevant lines, but to the right of the margin. This is where you see number 5, 10, 20, and each page will start numbering. Microsoft Word already has these functions directly. Drawings shall be executed in durable black, sufficiently dense and dark, uniformly thick, and well-defined lines and strokes without coloring. Usually only black and white. And as you notice, they do not like completely black out, they use strokes. But this is more on the engineering part. For pharmaceutical, it's quite the same drawing we use in application, can use almost here. Only if you want to draw your structure of the formulation or the composition, you draw it in this way. The application and any associated statement or document shall be filed in the national language or in the English language. Okay, that's all for the, let's say, the summary here. After that, we will see some examples or templates. Actually, all the source is available in my website, so you where to get the information. Any question? Because basically we have finished the main content of the training. Now to go for more examples and so on. And please try to think about what you want to invent, just the ideation. Let's try to draft few claims from your idea and so on. We have a question. Does this patent writing applies for industrial design too? No, industrial design is different. The application is different. We cover here is only for patent and utility innovation, not for industrial design or IC layout, because we have these all types of IPs. If you go to my website, you see the titles. We have patents, which is the scope of our training today. We have also trademarks, industrial design, geographic indications, copyrights, and IC layout design. So these are the types of IP that can be filed in Malaysia. So if we didn't cover other than patent, under patent, it's patent or utility innovation. Basically, they are exactly or very similar. The application and everything, the process is same. The only difference is that, anyone remember, utility innovation, the main difference is patent need 3 criteria. They are, for patent, we have 3 criteria: novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. For utility innovation, two criteria only. They are novelty and industry application. No need for inventive step. Okay, for social science, mostly they are under the copyright. Mostly they file for copyright. Their books, their forms, their whatever they want to publish, usually it's under copyright. But the thing that sometimes applicable is, as you mentioned, kids. They can convert their, for example, methods or so on to kids, KIT. For example, like the kids for playing, kids for education. This one can be patented. But for the scope of social science, mostly related to copyright. Yes. I'm not familiar with all of them, but just quick, for the most strongest protection is patent. Second is utility innovation. Then for trademark is only the use of the logo. The use of your logo. This is the protection. So no one can put your logo on their products. But you cannot make your product coffee and put this cafe logo on it. So they can sue you using trademark act because they are protecting their logo. Okay, so this is a trademark. For industrial design, sorry, for the online, the question is the difference between these IPs, intellectual properties. The industrial design is more as 2D or 3D layout drawing. It's more applicable, for example, to take, for example, carpets. The drawing of the carpet. You can protect that one under industrial design. If you make a nice carpet drawing design, so you can file industrial design for it. Actually, it's a drawing for it. Then no one can use that. But if they modify it in a way that doesn't look same, then they can use their own. But as far as I think it looks similar, you are still protected. If you have 3D, for example, you make a coffee cup and a specific 3D design and handler and so on, you can protect that one in using the industrial design. Geographic indication is more on the use of kind of geographic titles. For example, in Malaysia, like Pingtong ginger, known, is it? This one usually is application by not individuals. I think it's more applications by NGOs or some of the councils and so on to protect the use of their geographic name. For example, we have, I think in Malaysia, they have also some kind of mango that very beautiful mango come from a specific place. Harumanis mango, yes, I think that one. So that one come from specific location, is it? Curlis. I think this one is already applied for geographic indication. So no one else can claim Harumanis mango other than the one that from that geographic place. Okay, this is for geographic indication. So usually, if a group of farmers or mostly on farming, they can do something like this. So no one can use such name other than really that one. Copyright more on the writing, books, publications. songs, films. Secret recipe is a secret. No. Okay. Just remember, when you want to file IP, you need to disclose it. You need to disclose it in a way someone will be able to reproduce it. But if you don't want to disclose it, don't file it. And if you don't want to make it public, don't file publication. Trademark. If you want to protect the name, put it as a trademark. But if it's you don't want to disclose it to the government, you don't want to disclose it to the public, then it becomes a trade secret. So it's yours. You put it in a locker and close it. If you want your inheritance to know it. Other than that, it will die with you. Okay, just remember the need of disclosure. You will disclose it. And formula for ELISA. Fertilizer formula, okay? Yes. Yes, if you want to keep it as a secret, then it's yours only. No need to file anything. But if you think someone else may do something similar, and he find a way to do it similar to you, then you file a patent. When you file a patent or utility innovation, you will get a protection and monopoly for 20 years. No, it's not granted, not covered, but if it's granted, you can actually ask compensation from the one who used your, or he came across to your formula after the filing date. So you will get monopoly for 20 years, provided that you disclose it to the government so that anyone after 20 years will be able to use it. So this is the concept of patent. If you think no one will be able to find the secret, you can keep it secret for you. But sometimes, because for most cases, we are afraid that someone else will do something similar because they may find a way to do it. Then we protect ourselves, we get monopoly for 20 years, it's sufficient, then let people do it after that. You may develop another more tasty fertilizer or to make a fruit more tasty. Okay, the last one is the IC layout. Under the copyright in Malaysia, the codes for applications, programming, they suggest to go under copyright. But the scope of copyright is different because the copyright is the copy of the same text. If they change the text, rewrite the text completely, then actually you lost the protection. So the scope is different. Then also the last one is the IC layout. The IC layout related to the electronics, the drawing of the integrated circuit of the drawing of the electronic components. So this is special. I think not all countries have it. The IC layout design is protected under this one. But of course, also the protection scope is different because they may come up with the same function but using different layout. They change the arrangement, they add a small component, additional components, they may come up with a similar function. So, but copying your IC layout, cannot. If you find IC layout design. So as you can see, the most strongest protection is the patent and the utility innovation. The time also different. For patent is 20 years, utility innovation 10, subject to extension 5+5. Trademark, I forgot how long, but I think it's indefinite, if not mistaken. Industrial design, I'm not sure. Geographic indication, not sure. Copyright, maybe also they are indefinite or specific duration, I'm not sure. Copyright, quite long. I think 100 years or until, I think 100 years or 130 years, something very long, the copyright. Or until or 20 years after the death of the inventor. Copyright is very long. Okay, but it could include all films, movies, everything. And you can see them in the movies, copyright, and so on. In the book, you can see copyright. Okay, so this is the scope of IPs, intellectual property that you can protect in medicine. Okay, any other question? Okay, if you want now to see some of here actually all the resources you can find them here. Patentable inventions, non-patentable inventions. This is just a summary. Importance of patent registration, duration, who may apply, manual and specification, samples, can get them from here as well. Doing the applications, renewal and patent agent. Here also we have the patent search where you need to have your account. You can register a free account here to do research and so on. But for the application, I suggest that you get one account for doing the application. Patent basics, some information also, applying here, application process flow charts, forms and fees, okay. And the patent act, which you can download. Forms and fees. I think after we already know the process, let's see the forms and fees. They are frequently updated, so always to consult this page to get the latest form, the version. Download forms for patent 2022. Download notice of amendment. So here are the forms and the fees. Request for granting a patent is form 1, 290 ringgit. You can get it in PDF or to fill up manually or in Microsoft Word and fill up using Microsoft Word. Request for restoration right, no need usually. Okay, let's do a practice. Can someone calculate how much it costs to get the patent granted using do it yourself? DIY. How much it costs? This is the fees now, you can see them. Online also can practice. These are all the forms we need. We don't need all, of course, but can someone calculate how much it costs to get the patent granted? Okay, first form we need to submit. Someone can speak open also, maybe mic or. Do you remember? First form is request for grant patent is maybe someone do the calculation using the calculator, 290 ringgit plus. Okay, second one, do we need? Third one, Declaration withdrawal. Form number 2. International phase, international application. Request for early publication. Request for early publication, no inspection, certification of the registrar for requesting sample of deposited microorganism. No. Request for substantive examination is so 1,100. So how much now become? Okay. Request for modified is not applicable to us. Request for deferment of filing of request for modified substantive, and then if you want to differ more than 118 months, you submit this form, which is only 150 ringgit. They will give you additional time. I think now we may check the act how long they can give to you. Request for certified copy of extract by the registrar or to examiner registrar. 100 ringgit. This is if you want to get a copy after the patent application. Anyone can get this copy. If it's certified copy, it's more expensive. If not, it's less, actually less than 100. Request to amend the register, 100, no need. Application for reinstatement of lapsed patent, 150. Request for license to exploit patent invention. Request to convert patent into application for utility innovation. So if they ask you to, sometimes the examiner will ask you to change, then you need to submit this form. Okay. Request for approval of expedited examination. So this one, if you want to follow the expedited examination, you need to add now 250. How much become? Total. If you follow the expedited pathway, then you need also to request expedited examination, 2,800. So how much total now? This one for approval, this one to request. You need to submit this one first. After 1 week, they will give you, if you are entitled for expedited. Then you submit the second one. Yes. 4,440. Okay, application to record, application to record, application to amend, request to remove record, application for entry that any person may obtain a license, application for cancellation, request to record expiry, application for compulsory license, application request for amendment, request for cancellation of compulsory license, application for a grant, a certificate of utility innovation. This one, if you want to go for utility innovation, no need to submit form 1, you submit form 14. So less 50 ringgit. Less. The difference is 50 ringgit less. Application to extend term of certification of utility innovation, and that's 15 because 10 years plus 5 plus 5. Request to amend patent application, request to amend patent, request to re-examination, appointment or change of patent agent, application for registration of patent agent. This is not applicable to us. Registration as a candidate for examination. You want to sit for the examination and you become a patent agent. Application to resit examination, application to attend course for patent agent. Application to attend course, request to correct change, application for renewal. Patent agent, this one patent agent, patent agent, patent agent, patent agent, finishing address, furnishing address of service or for patent agent, extension of time, 350, statement, okay, this one, form 22, you need to submit as well. Statement justifying the application rights to patent or utility innovation. You need this one as well. You want to see what is this? During filing. Yes. So during filing, we need to submit form 1 or 14 for patent or utility innovation plus form 22. So if you add 100, this is actually observation being here, then the service copy of application announcement. Okay, so these are all the forms. So total, if we want to do normal expedited, how much total? 4,600 almost. Because 10 ringgit for breakfast. Huh? You want to go there. So 4,600. If you want expedited, not expedited, you remove plus yes, so total become 1,490 or 1,500 for normal pathway for patent. 1,500 including the request for examination. If you don't want to the request for examination, it costs only 390, almost 500 ringgit. Plus 100. For filing. During the filing, you can only file with 490. 390. 290. 290 plus 100, 390. For one is 290. 290 plus 10. So this is form 22, statement justifying the application right for patent. So just some in a matter of title of the invention, the applicant, the inventor names, statement. So statement justifying the application, of course, in our case, by virtue of employment. So it's a very simple form. Basically, something like this, when you go to file in the patent office, you will get some help there. If you can ask them what to put here, what to put here, it's not a big problem to fill the forms. If you go to the patent office, they can ask them, what should I put here? I am employed in UIA, what should I put here? But if you want to follow practice TOT yourself, I think Dr. Farah office must give unified form, fill up maybe basically the first part, the applicant, to make it unified here. Because why I noticed if you search patent register now, you will find so many names for UIA. One International University Malaysia, one IIUM, one University Islam and Abdul. So if someone come to look for patents under IIUM, he may get a false list number because it's so many names there. Even our names are written differently. If I look for my name, I will find so many names under my name. Maybe Dr. Farah find also one Farida Muhammad, one Farida Binti Muhammad, one maybe a little bit twisted. So yeah, I think sometimes because patent agent fill up the information, it come up to some problems. So make it, I think better to make it unified, especially the name of the UIA and the information regard belongs to UIA. If there is something not clear, I think you can go to patent office, fill up this part first and distribute it to the researchers. If you need to form 1, you need to distribute form 1, form 14, and form 22. So this is form 1, the most important form. Same also title, the applicant name, which is basically same for all. This is the UIA information. Since it's not individual, I forgot exactly what to put here, but if you go to the patent office, just ask them one time what to put here. I think maybe the registration number of the company, IIUM company, and so on. Just fill up it one time and distribute all the researchers, they will use it. Because later they will need to change their name, the inventors. Then the agent, no need. This one, no need. Disclosure to be disregarded, also no need. Just normal priority claims, filing date, application date, and basically it's a simple form, but you attach the description, the one that you drafted, to this one. Checklist, request, name, drawings, and so on, the number of pages. So basically, this is what the registrar will check. If all correct, okay, not correct, they will ask you to amend. So form 1, form 14 for utility innovation, and form 22, the justification. Basically, these are the forms that we need. So make them available and with correct information and unified name, then become better. Okay, so 1,500, almost 500 to submit and get certificate of filing. You can get it with 500 ringgit only. If with request for examination, it's about 1,600. The cost is it's expedited. It's about 5,500. This is the costing. Yes. 1,100 within 18 months. After 18 months, you submit the request for expedited. The applicant is IIUM. You are the inventor. Next page. Can be more. Can be more. Can add more. Can also. As I mentioned, you can get some help from the registrar because if something not clear what to put here, or if you need to attach or write it in another place, they can help you in the office directly in contact there. I think they have only one employee in the office because they only are receiving of this. They just get the documents, they file, and they record in the system and send to Kuala. There is some, of course, there's some information here in the resources. There is also the one that I think already emailed to all, template of patent filing. This is from MyIPO themselves. Okay, you can use this as a template, but I prefer also to use the already granted patents with Microsoft Word format, use them as template because they are more related. If I am from pharmacy, get a patent granted from pharmaceutical firm. From Korea of Science, definitely they have several patents already granted. Get some of them and use them as a template. And there is a big difference between patent agents. Some of them are very professional. Some of them, they were really very basic. Insert your title here, technical field. You can see almost similar to what I showed you before. Background art, it's like the literature review. Describe any prior art, discuss advantage, summary of the invention, brief description of the drawing, detailed description of preferred embodiments. So you don't need to follow exactly the same titles, but as far as it gives the same meaning. How it operates, alternative embodiments. Measures, terminology, sign, we already discussed. Claims, this is the way how to write the claims. Abstract, most illustrative figure, and then figures, figure 1, figure 2, and so on. There is something when you draft the figures, when you use number 2, for example, for this part, in other figure, you need to use the same number for the same part. For example, you don't even need to use actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can use 1, for example, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 for the external part. Then internal part, use 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. No need to follow sequence, but make it something logic. You can see this figure has only 3. They are 38, 40, 42. Because 38 for this part. Across several figures, you need to use 38. You do not number each figure separately. Okay. For example, this is 38 here. This figure doesn't have 38. Look at 38. We selected some. One is not available in any other place. Okay, whatever, for example, take this part. This is 14. Refer to this part. In another figure, if we use the same, this one, number 14 is this one. So this figure doesn't start counting going from 1, 2, 3, 4. If this is the same part, we need to use 14. This part, 60. So in another figure, if you go to 60, is same part. So you number the figures, every part get a number across several figures. Okay? So when you write in your claims part 1 in the bracket 60, it's actually all figures 60 is this part. Not 16 figure 1 is different from 16 figure 2. This number figure 9 over 21, I think. Figure 10, total 21 figures. It's not actually compulsory to use it. So this is how the figures and the punctuation inside the claim. Inside the claim, you need to put bracket. This is a very important actually. Inside the claims, in Malaysia, you need to use, if you mention the part, you need to put bracket. But inside the description, you don't use bracket. You see the description. On 56 pages. Patent. Very long. Okay, if you mention part, for example, opening number 12, this is the part in the figure. So don't use bracket in the description, but in the claim, you need to use bracket. Okay, this is also a very important punctuation. Asleep, number 14, extend between the opening, number 12, and the outer edge, number 16. Okay, so don't use brackets here. Yeah. You don't need to disclose our novelties here. It's inside your description and claim. Especially inside your claim, you make your claim different from the prior arts. But you don't state our invective step is like this. Don't disclose it. in this like statement like this only. In the background also, you can mention more advantage compared to the prior art, but in a normal speaking way, not direct way, inventive steps like this. Just mention our prior art patent number, blah, 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 from US, for example, disclosed method for this. It lacks or it still have problem of blah, blah, blah. Our invention solve the problem by doing this. Can mention it in this normal writing. There's no standard writing in the description. You read few patents related to your technical field, then write similar one. The standard ones is in the claims. Citation you just mentioned as the patent number or the publication example. You don't need both citation references at the end. Usually we just mention the patent application number. Mostly we cite from patent. Only if you find a really very close publication, you cite it. But mostly we cite patents. You just mention it, no need to put references at the end, bibliography or references. The patent number, okay, show you. You just write it in any way in the description. Publication by blah blah blah, published on year blah blah blah, and the title. There is no section to put references. Just something that you can go back and check it, find it. For patents, it's easy because you can just mention the patent number. You can see here, we mention it like this, a United States patent with publication number. So now the examiner is easy. You can just search Google patent, he will find what is this. Just write the publication in a way sufficient to check it. Or you can maybe mention with DOI number. Then it's a sufficient reference to go back and check it. Okay, so let's go back to this patent application. Then you can see that you can read actually the field of invention. This is a test masking composition, meaning that formulation actually of black cumin, black seed actually. Field of invention, the present invention relates to test masking composition comprising black cumin derived matter, and more particularly to a composition suitable for groups of people, including elderly, children, and people with dysphagia. So you can see black cumin, we said derived matter. We don't mention exactly that it's oil, because actually oil was oil, but to expand it, we make it any derived matter from black seed. Can be black seed oil, can be black seed extract, can be black seed powder. So we expanded our invention. Background of the invention. Here we state some normal background, literature. Black cumin seed, well known for blah blah blah, its benefits and so on. And the problem with its taste, because here we want to solve the problem of taste. It's a normal actually, when you write any proposal or research article, the introduction and literature review, write in a way. Then you start after that, after this introductory statements or 1, 2, 3 paragraphs, go and start citing the closest prior arts. Between 2 to 5 is enough. Okay, so for example, a United States patent with application number disclosed blah blah blah. This is what disclosed here. Actually, I take it. You can take it from the abstract. You can copy the abstract and put it here. One good thing you need to know about patent, it's not actually, there's no plagiarism. But as far as I know, there's no problem to copy paste, because it's not actually checked for peer review or checked for similarity or anything. So you just take you can take it from the abstract, disclose and then copy the abstract and put it here. Then it will mention what this patent about. Then there's another patent, disclose, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Malaysian patent number also disclose this, United States patent number disclose. Basically, if you see, this is exactly or very similar to the abstract. So another patent number. Okay. Okay, now we come then to the stating this problem that still exists. As above mentioned by your art, disclose several encapsulation, but little or none about attention was given to the encapsulating or taste masking. Thus, there exists a need for dysphagia-friendly formulation comprising molecular oil. Okay, so now you state that even though we have several prior parts, they didn't solve a technical problem, which is the taste, for example. Then here is we already identified what is our difference between our invention, difference between us and prior arts. Summary of the invention, then started as like a story. The invention relates to a taste masking formulation, come from flaxseed oil, the beads referred to, blah, blah. Basically, it's a bit similar take from the independent claim, expand it and explain the independent claim here. You can add a little bit more explanation by including additional dependent claims here. Then brief description of the drawing. This is just like the figure linkets you put in your application. Pay attention to the bracketing of the numbers. Here you put brackets, some places you don't need brackets, so pay attention to this one. The present invention related to now detailed description here where you should throw everything here. Now make this one as long as possible to explain everything in the independent claim, everything in the dependent claims. So you start expanding the explanation, the problems to solve, and whatever you have done, even though you didn't claim, you can put it here because later you may need to use it to amend your claims. If your claims now not drafted well and they lack the inventive step, you may get some information from description to add to your claim to become effective. If you didn't put information here, no way to amend the claims. You can amend only from what is written inside. So you can see first one to preferred embodiment, then mention the hydrophilic polymer description. So yeah, instead of we use LGNA today, but we will replace it with a hydrophilic polymer. Then after that, we explain that hydrophilic polymer can be alginate, ketosane, gilangam. Okay, so we can have more protection. Okay, the method also, because we have another independent claim for the method, that one for the product itself, and the one for the method of producing it. Okay, so here also we explain further how to manufacture the beads. Then different variation of the beads. One beads for our beads is basically what we protected is the basic beads. Then we make embodiments to add flavor, to add sweetener, to add color agent. So every one we have one embodiment for it, one example for it. This is why it becomes bigger and bigger. This one was okay. This is the examples. The following non-limiting examples have been carried out. Flax seed with wet alginate bits. This is one example. Another one with flavor. Another one we dry them. Another example, seed oil dry alginate bits. Another variation here we use maybe it's different heating, different cooling, different example. This one is transparent one. We change for example, change the emulsifier. This one is core shell alginate bits, another variation. This one used black common volatile oil, even though actually we didn't use it, we use only the normal essential oil, but it's still applicable to volatile oil. We put it in one embodiment. Black cumin seed powder, energinate bits. Also, because we expanded from oil to volatile oil to the seed powder, can use for more. Solid lipid nanoparticle, black cumin oil, energinate bits, black cumin oil in gum bits. So all these things are embodiments. Now we come to the claims. A test masking composition. Okay, so this is the statement comprising. Remember, comprising is the white blood. Black cumin derived matter. So you can see this one actually included everything come from black cumin. If you put oil, you are restricted to oil. So if someone come and use the powder directly, you cannot do anything. If someone also come and use the extract, not the oil, also you cannot protect yourself. But if you put it in this way, now you widen the scope. Immobilize in a plurality of bits formed from a hydrophilic polymer. This is the refer to the drawing. You need to put brackets in the claims. Wherein the hydrophilic polymer forms a layer encapsulating the matter. Okay? So this is the independent claim. See how wide is it? Then we start with the dependent claims. A composition according to claim 1. Okay, or basically the most preferred way is to write it exactly same. A test masking composition according to claim 1. It's better than this way. Wherein the matter is at least 3% by weight of the composition. Why I selected this one actually because I found one application they use black seed oil at 3%, encapsulated 3%. I put it here as dependent claim. If they found, the examiner found that article, now I combine this one with this one. I put comprising more than 3% black cumin derived matter. I restricted it to composition more than 3%, then it becomes effective. But they didn't find that article. Yeah, not popular. And maybe they didn't detect that one. Okay. So you put something for future. You have something for future. A composition according to claim 1 or 2, now depends on this both, wherein the matter is derived from black cumin seed, because here we put black cumin, not black cumin seed, even including the leaf extract is included also in the protection. But now we start writing some dependent claims. Composition according to any one of claim 1 to 3, wherein the matter is in a form of oil, extract, powder, or lipid nanoparticles. You can write this way. It's not common in the international applications, but in Malaysia they still write. Commonly we don't put or, but it's fine. Okay, sometimes. A composition according to claim 1, the hydrophilic polymer. Now, as I mentioned before, come to each word. So now we explain further the black cumin derived matter. Then let's explain more. Expand the hydrophilic polymers. Hydrophilic polymer comprise alginate, ketosane, gum, or a combination thereof. So can even mixture can. A composition according to any of claim 1 to 5 comprises at least one coloring agent. You can see this is further. We put the word further because now we can add more. We put the minimum requirement, then we add more. Can add coloring agent, sweetener, or flavoring agent. Then this is another independent claim, which is the method of producing, comprising the steps of forming hydrophilic polymer, characterizing that hydrophilic polymer form a layer, adding the matter to solution, forming a mixture, and this is the steps basically. The methods now dependent claims on number 7. A method according to claim 7 further comprises a step of agitation, then a step for at least adding at least one coloring sweetener or so on. A method is derived from legumin oil, from oil extract, and so on. Okay, so this is one way to write it. In the abstract, also you need to put the brackets. Two independents, one the product, one the method, the process. Most illustrative figure is figure 1. And let's check where is. These are the figure, or they use similar numbering here. This is the figure. Basically, we draw it simply in Microsoft PowerPoint. It's not a big deal. Especially for pharmaceutical, we can use something. But for engineering, I think they use manual drawing or some maybe softwares. So this is number 1, number 2, 3. This is also 3 because it's similar. Figure 2, now 2 and 4. 2 is same 2 as here. So you always need to refer to the same one. 2 is here, the hydrophilic polymer actually. 5 is this one. 2, 6, 6. If there are so many components, better to separate them. No need to put 1, 2, 3, 4 until 100 or 400. You can make one, for example, can 100, 200, no problem. You can split, but for easy numbering, you can put 1, 1, 1, 2. For example, the first one is referring to the external part. 2 refer to, for example, internal parts. Any way your numbering is fine. Doesn't need to go 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Okay? So any way of numbering is up to you. Here is small numbers, so it's just a normal sequence. Is referred to the bit itself. All. Second one. Okay, this one luckily got the examination. This is the adverse report after the examination. Okay, the examiner has examined the above application and has reported as follows. The application doesn't comply with substantive requirement under Section 30 of the Patent Act. So if you open Patent Act, you can see what is 31. If you go to the Patent Act, and go to Section 31. Mostly about infected state. Yes. The prohibition of publication, publication which might convert the nation, no? 31, what is that? Or, okay, not sure what is this. The application does not comply, right? The sales report is attached. You are invited to respond within 2 months. Okay, this is not a problem. Here is the examination details. Okay, this is the prior art cited by the examiner. So the examiners use these 4 prior arts to compare your patent with. Okay, this is a US patent. word patent, and this is my application, my own application, and this is another patent. You can see this patent actually is not granted, but it's prior art. The first draft is prior art. This is a granted patent. So anything published is a prior art. Whether it's granted patent, rejected patent, it's a prior art. Cases of examination, the description does not been filed. The present application does not meet the requirements, section 11 and 15. You go and check section 11 and 15. This one's different things, not really. 11, patentable invention. 15, inventive step. You always will get inventive step problem. Yes, okay. No, maybe I mentioned, maybe not. If you put there, they, of course, you guide them to that patent, but they will do their own search as well. So maybe some of them the same that I use, some of them their own search, but they will do their own search. But if you give them that one, they will be somehow guided to there. Google patent. Google patent, but to know the one that is SpaceNet, they search actually, they may search SpaceNet as well, but SpaceNet mostly I use it to take the classification number. But it has also search like Google patent. But Google patent is easier because it's more smart actually. In terms of if you read more details there, like normal Google search, if you put, for example, comprising, then it will search all comprising, comprised of, all the variation of the word will search. Other search engines, they are not that smart. If you put, for example, formulation or including, then Google automatically will search different variation of the word, including, include, included. But some search engines, they will take the word as you put exactly. So Google is more smarter to search. Yeah, this is our search is different from their search. So the same search engine. Yeah. Yes. They use Google patent and eSpace in MyIPO. Yes. So the same one. But of course, everyone, how he define his search and so on is different. And sometimes if we found very close to your knowledge, we don't want to put it because we are guiding them to that. Yeah, sometimes you want to avoid. In a hope that the examiner will overlook that one. This is just a joke. Officially joke. Basis of the examination, the description has not been filed. Okay, you can see it's small. Every time you will get a question mark on the description. This one I'm not sure. I think maybe technical thing or I'm not sure. I think this is something technical, it's not common to find this one. Maybe in the original application missing or something technical. Reply, yes. Okay, document 1. Document 2, document 3, document 4. Okay, this is the document 1 disclose the invention related to use of film coating, blah blah, other conventional coating ingredients and where appropriate. They also copy this one from the abstract of some first in the brief description of the invention. They briefly describe, they can copy the first paragraph, basically they also use it. Okay, document 2 discloses blah blah blah, document 4 discloses, document 5 discloses blah. The aforementioned claims differ from the citation D1, D3, D, and 4 in that the documents do not disclose the weight percentage of the chemical used and the actual process of that test masking. In light of the disclosure paradigm, it is considered that this difference resides only in what is merely a choice of one of several obvious non-alternatives. You can see obvious non-alternatives in the art and which would be available for use by a person skilled in the art. So meaning that they found that our method, basically, they even though they didn't disclose the weight percentage of black seed oil, but it's obvious for anyone to consider it. So this is their attack here. Even though that the prior art do not mention the process of test masking, but the process of the test masking will involve the hydrophilic polymer is a common general knowledge, a common criteria they attack you. Using the black comment as a several choice is obvious and predictable by persons skilled in the art in the field of test masking. The specification describes no particular problem to be overcome, which would act as a barrier in applying such a non-alternative. Therefore, this is merely an obvious choice. Okay, so if one read this one, he said he obviously can make your invention. And therefore, it's not comply with the inventive step. So this is a common reply from the examiner report. So this is basically the examiner that if we can defend this thing and make sure, I'm sure patent agent will not be able to defend this one because this is a very specific to your knowledge, to your publication, to your experience. So they, of course, they will send it back to us. Let me check our reply. Actually, I write the reply here, but they formulate it, make it formal. It's the reply, the final response, because I found we respond. This is the amended. We amended the claims a little bit according to the. We amended the claims a little bit according to the reply. But this is the how we defended this one. Okay, the currently presented claim 1 requires the black common oil to be in a form of oil and the hydrophilic polymer to be alginate, ketosane, or a combination thereof. Further, it requires the composition to comprise a cross-linking agent. It is present in the test masking composition due to the cross-linking step as outlined in the present application. Document 1, I discuss here the documents one by one, relates to an active ingredient containing shaped article coated with a film coating mixture by means of spraying. So we highlight eyeball because it's very different. It is understood that spraying step requires the active ingredients containing shaped particles to be in a solid state in order to form the film coating spray, thereof to dry. On the contrary, the black common derived matter in the current present claim 1 is a liquid. Therefore, by referring to D1, it is impossible for a person skilled in the art to use black common derived matter in the form of oil in place of the active ingredient to do the test masking. So I defended this one because spray drying they use in the D1 they use a solid state matter and ours is liquid, and technically there's a big difference between both of them. So it's not obvious to person skilled in the art to use the same knowledge to encapsulate the oil. This is my definition. Another one, also the membrane is applying thereof to temperature-induced phase separation in an organic solvent system. Actually, I need to read the full D1, not only the claims. In this case, we need to read all the patent that they cited to see what is different between you and them. Here, I found they use organic solvent. Okay, it's then it is impossible for a person skilled in the art to use an oil-based substance as the core particle in an organic solvent. This is because the oil-based substance will dissolve in the organic solvent. So ours is completely different. We don't use organic solvent. D3, they use BLGA followed by addition of ethyl and so on. Actually, this is our article. And the method is completely different. This is a solvent evaporation method. Our method is cross-linking. So I also define that someone who knows solvent evaporation method, basically they cannot simply move to cross-linking method. They are completely separate. The different methods in the encapsulation technology. Last one, it didn't disclose a test passing composition or a method for making the loaf. As such, the applicant finds that D4 may not be relevant to be cited, okay, because the field here is completely different. So we said that the examiner normally cited D4. They should not use D4. Based on the above, we think that ours is inventive. Actually, the patent agent recommended to move to utility innovation, but I insisted to file as patent, and I write the this discussion. But they just make it formal. But they wanted to move it to make it utility innovation. But I use this definition. But now it's granted as a patent. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so this is how you need to reply the patent adverse report. Training details a course, on complete course, how to reply adverse report. I attended that course in MyIPO. They teach you how to reply to them. They teach you how to reply to them. No, if they suggest to you a lack of inventive step, and now you convert to utility innovation, you no longer need an inventive step. But if there is an attack on novelty, you reply to that one. The attack on inventive step, no need to reply because it's no longer required. Because here is the attack of the inventive step. Yeah, can reply. It's very subjective because for them it looks like obvious, but we defend that it's not obvious, but highlighting how different the technology are here. Then you need to convince them that it's not really obvious. The one who uses spray drying cannot use our cross-linking method simply by just because he knows spray drying, he cannot use our technology. So this is how you need to reply. You need to reply within 2 months. Take few months as well. Few months. No. This is happened after the 18 months. After the 18 months. Usually not only after 18 months, usually after 2 or 3 years. Yeah. But you can, yeah, you cannot add anything. If you got new data, you cannot add it to the application. But you can withdraw that one and submit it. You will use, yes, and you will use the priority date. The priority date was before, now you get a new priority date. If there is no competition, it's fine. But if there is someone who start making this product, then it comes to problem. No, if not granted, will publish. But if it's withdrawn, will not be published. If you submit to withdraw it within 18 months, will not be published. After 18 months, we'll publish it. We'll publish it. Yes, but you can get the full from MyIPO. You pay, I think, 20 ringgit or yes, but it's I'm not sure if they will search. I think the MyIPO will search also their own. But others, of course, we do not have access to them, but they will search. I think the Malaysian patents. They can get the full text there. The examiners, this they can, because it's inside MyIPO. So, but mostly the title and the abstract would guide them if it's relevant or no. It's considered public domain, but accessibility is a bit restricted, but it's considered public domain. Like the published journals, you need subscription to get the full text, but it's a public domain. It's a public domain. Okay, any question? No, it's all through UIA. But this one especially I drafted it. When they reply, they just a little bit amendment. The patent agent slightly amended the application. Okay, if no more questions, maybe we can take the lunch break. Then we come back at 2. At 2, mostly let's take some examples. If someone has an idea or something to explain, or let's try to draft the claims from the idea, see if we can draft some claims. Or if someone has project, let's see if it's discuss if it's patentable or not. So please think about your cases and let's take them. But in terms of slides and so on, we finish with it. Okay. Anything, Dr. Farah? Okay. Okay, with this, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. 2:30. 2:30 or 2? 2. Okay, so 2. We start back at 2.